And our top focus on Newspoint right now. Israel has urged the White House to reschedule a high-level meeting that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu cancelled after the U.S. did not veto the UNSC's Gaza ceasefire resolution. In a bid to ease tensions now between the two allies, White House confirmed that Netanyahu's office has agreed to reschedule the meeting dedicated to discuss the Israeli military's plans for Gaza's southern city of Rafah. Reports claim that Netanyahu is now planning to send a delegation as early as next week, after the U.S. allowed passage of a Gaza ceasefire resolution. Netanyahu called off a planned visit to Washington by senior Israeli delegation. The suspension of the meeting forced the U.S. to face a new obstacle, as Washington tries to get Netanyahu consider other options to a ground invasion of Rafah.
What we have said is the kind of mission that we could support is a much more targeted, limited campaign that could still achieve the same objectives, that could still lead to the defeat of those remaining Hamas battalions inside Rafah, but without massive harm to the civilian population, without hindering the delivery of humanitarian assistance, and without actually weakening Israel's security instead of strengthening it.
Meanwhile, U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham called on the Biden administration to allow Israel to work to destroy Hamas in Rafah. Recently, Republican Senator from South Carolina who was on a visit to Israel. Take a listen.
The 4 battalions that still reside in the Rafah region must be destroyed. That is non-negotiable. One thing I've learned from talking to the Israeli Defense Forces is if these battalions are left intact, everything they've achieved will be lost over time. So I urge the Biden administration, the Congress, to make sure that Israel has the time and space to achieve victory over Hamas militarily.
Earlier this week, Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant held several discussions with senior U.S. lawmakers as threat of Rafah ground operations have increased differences between the United States and Israel. While meeting his Israeli counterpart, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin also said that civilian casualties in Gaza are too high. It also raised questions whether the U.S. is going to restrict military aid if Netanyahu decides to move ahead with the Rafah invasion. Now, as the humanitarian crisis in Gaza continues to worsen, Ireland says it will intervene in South Africa's genocide case against Israel. Foreign Minister Michelle Martin said that the October 7th attack and the Gaza crisis represents the blatant violation of international humanitarian law on a mass scale. Meanwhile, in the Red Sea, U.S. forces destroyed 4 long-range unmanned aerial systems that were launched by Houthis. According to U.S. Central Command, the 4 drones were aimed at a U.S. warship.